I've seen all the domes in Paris now. Glass domes. Yeah, so you can get some good views of Paris from the top of this department store, Printemps, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and also the Galeria Lafayette. I might do that next, just have a look.
You guess this is La Vie en Rose. When you kiss me, heaven sighs, and though I close my eyes, I see La Vie en Rose. When you press me to your heart, and in a world apart, a world where roses bloom. And when you speak, angels sing from above. Everyday word seems to turn into love song. Give your heart and soul to me, and life will always be La Vie en Rose.
Yeah, I went in this Galeria Lafayette last time, but I didn't go to the rooftop. I showed you the dome, but you can actually get on the roof. So I'm going to have a look to see what the view's like from up there. See if it's any better than the other department store. Yeah, so you can see them up there on the rooftop. Christ, really. I mean, you saw that dome last time. Yeah, some lovely views from up here. Loads of tourists though.
No, I'm probably like this. It needs to be like this. Avec Sophie ou... Ils sont où?
太高啊，没没。
Much better views from up here, but it's a bit manic. There's too many people. Probably better come in first thing in the morning or something. But I imagine, you know, it's always going to be quite busy up here. Yeah, there's meant to be a lovely ballroom in this intercontinental hotel and a nice dome, but I don't know if I can just walk in. I'll give it a go, because obviously I'm not a guest there. Yeah, I just walked in and had a bit of trouble finding it at first, but luckily I asked the waiter and he kind of guided me here, so yeah, no one stopped me or anything, so not as spectacular as I thought it was going to be, but it's still worth taking a look. Yeah, I'm just going in to see Saint-Chapelle, but I don't know whether you can take photos or film in there. It's quite a big queue here as well. So this is the residence where Charles Baudelaire rented one of the upper apartments, and he lived here for a few years, squandering the wealth that he inherited. Gautier also had a room at one of these apartments. This is where they had their famous monthly meetings of the Hashish Club. Fellow members included Victor Hugo, Dumas, Paul Verlaine, Rimbaud. I think Baudelaire, grew out of the hashish after a few years, and kind of moved on to opium. So you may be thinking, who is Charles Baudelaire and why did I go to visit his grave? Charles Baudelaire is considered the father of modern poetry. He was born in the 19th century, in 1821. He died at the age of 46. So he's most famous for his book of poetry, The Flowers of Evil, which was released in 1857. And it was considered quite shocking at the time and controversial because it explored taboo subjects centered around debauchery, death, and the seedier aspects of urban life. That's maybe an oversimplification of his work, but yeah, at the time him and his publisher were fined quite heavily for for 6 of the poems which were considered indecent. Yeah, so I'm obviously a fan of his work. I've had this book of poetry of his for about 20 years. I first come across his name and a poem of his in a book called Status and Anxiety by Alain de Botton, who is a kind of populariser of philosophy. I'd recommend reading a few of his earlier books. I thought they were quite interesting. He does a similar thing to Robert Greene, in showing you how philosophy can help in your kind of everyday life. I mean, how can you resist that front cover there? It's very apt as well. It's actually this is Mephistopheles in Faust, and this is by Delacroix. But yeah, I would recommend this translation. I've read some other translations, and I'm not really a fan. I resonated with this. It's by Walter Martin, who's a American guy who was born in Texas, and he read French at Stanford. Some people have complained that it's not a literal interpretation, but it can't be, because it's another language and we're dealing with poetry. So it's never going to be a literal translation. Obviously it's easier if it's in prose. Martin even says that, you're kind of performing a seance when you do a translation of poetry. Your job is to try and bring that spirit back to life in the work you do. I should say this is the complete poems. This doesn't include the prose poems, Paris Spleen. And that's another reason why I've titled the video Splendour and Spleen, because spleen is mentioned a lot in his poetry, to give more emphasis on his disgust or melancholy, that type of thing. I did actually just write a short paragraph on why I liked, why I like Baudelaire's work in a Word document. I just, I didn't want to take too many takes at getting this right, so yeah, I've put I like the honesty and vulnerability that Baudelaire expresses. It doesn't have the veneer and affectation of 19th century respectability. He confesses frankly from the heart, with an acerbic elegance and wit, coupled with the ability to evoke images in the reader's mind, to take you directly to the scene or moment, to see, feel and experience what he does. Most of his writing touches on his fleeting dalliances and relationships with courtesans who he would both idealise and treat with contempt. He also wrestled with his conscience in a modern Paris which he viewed as a sick society, playing the part of a saint and sinner in its seedy underbelly. He sought to escape the horror of reality through imagination and sensual pleasures, inhabiting a phantasmagorical world where ideal beauty and epiphanies could be revealed in the full comprehension of a moment or memory. Whether that was observing a work of art, hearing a piece of music, the scent of a perfume, or in a tender kiss and embrace. For Baudelaire, the sensibility of each person is his genius, but it was also in suffering, sometimes through sin, which led a pathway to salvation. That's a muck up at the end there, but yeah, I think you get the point. And like the painters at the time, they wanted to draw inspiration from contemporary life, urban society. Obviously you had the plein air painters as well, but they wanted to move away from historical painting and painting of different mythologies. I do read a couple of poems at his grave, but I wanted to finish this up by reading the first poem that you're greeted with in this collection of complete poems, and I think it's the first poem in the actual Flowers of Evil book. There's a big B there. Oh, God. Yeah, it's called To the Reader. Sin Stinting senseless acts and sophistries pester the flesh and prey upon the mind. We keep our stainless consciences maintained like indignants who fatten up their fleas. Headstrong in sin, half-hearted in remorse, we want to make damn sure confession pays, that easy tears will rinse away disgrace, the better to resume our intercourse. Great Satan lullabies our spellbound hearts and rocks us in his cunning cradle, till the pliant precious metal of our will is vaporized by his hermetic arts. The devil jerks the strings that make us dance. We learn to love the smell of excrement. Each day brings one more step in our descent through stinking shades that would have gagged us once. Lechers with nothing left, whose pleasure is to squeeze some aged whore's exhausted breast. We grab for every passing thrill with zest and suck them hard like dried up oranges. Like serried knots of seething parasites, demonic forces riot in our brains. With every rasping breath, death's river drains down to our flooded lungs and out of sight. We are petty criminals with petty fates, and if we haven't broken all the laws of God and man and nature, it's because we haven't got the stomach for it yet. In our grotesque menagerie of vice, amid the hisses, grunts and snarls and shrieks of restless jackals, vultures, apes and snakes, there's one thing even wilder, even worse, nastier, for far more vicious than the rest. Although the beast lies silent and withdrawn, he'd swallow all creation with a yawn, and willingly reduce the earth to dust. Ennui, daydreaming of the guillotine, grows misty-eyed, a hookah in his fist. Reader, you know this armchair terrorist. Yes, you hypocrite, my next of kin. I'm just in Montpassé Cemetery. I'm looking for the tomb of Charles Baudelaire. I found the cenotaph memorial to him. That was easier to find. I'm just about to put it on Google Maps. Yeah, it's a bit easy to miss, so I would get the image on your phone so you can see what it actually looks like. Yes, I think Jacques Opic was his stepfather that died. Looks like he's buried here as well. Yeah, because the name that you see first is Jacques Pic, and then Charles Baudelaire is below him. Then I think it's his mother, Caroline. Yeah, I was probably a bit naive. I didn't expect this cemetery to be as busy as it is. But like I said, I think it's like a cut through for a lot of people. I mean, there's not as many famous people buried here as the more famous one where Oscar Wilde's buried. It was quite early on, but I went. I might show it on the video. I went to Luxembourg Gardens. I'm not sure if that's their main park. And then I had a bit of lunch, and then I've just come back here. Yeah, I felt I needed to recite some poetry here. I don't know why, but I didn't really want an audience, so I finally got a bit of peace and quiet, so I wanted to recite 2 short poems by Charles Baudelaire, translated by Walter Martin. The first one is called A Burial, and it evokes a lot of gothic imagery. If on a dark and gloomy night some charitable Christian soul should dump your body out of sight down some pack-rat infested hole, and at the hour of heaven's ebb, when stainless stars await the dawn, the spider starts to spin its web, and vipers twine to hatch their spawn, your once proud head, now underground, condemned to listen all year round, will hear the faults of petty thieves, and how the howling wolf-pack grieves, and hags with dusty dugs in ditches, giving suck to sons of bitches. Right. Okay. Okay. And quickly, the second poem before I get chucked out of here. The Death of the Artists. How often must I shake my bells and kiss your vulgar brow, you mournful mockery? How many javelins must I let fly before I hit the target once or twice? We scarify our souls and sacrifice whole armatures we've tried to bring to life, till nature stands incarnate to the eye that longs to see her metamorphosis. Some never see their idol realised, stonemasons doomed to turn their hammers on their own humiliated flesh and bone, reduced to one last hope that death might rise, to fill the solemn sky like some dark sun, and bring to blossom all they might have done. Oh, Christ. Yeah, it's more like a park, this cemetery. It was quite earlier on.